Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly, and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. For today's video, we're going to be talking about all of the different outlines that I see and the potential outcomes that I see for us going towards the end of the year. I believe that the rest of this year is going to be very choppy as we ultimately form a bottom formation, and then that's where we will ultimately continue on in this bull run. It's important to understand how the price action can play out from here. Are we going to get a lower low past 25,000? If we do that, how do we prepare ourselves? Are we going to see a big bounce in the short term? I'm going to be covering all of this stuff and giving you guys my scenarios for how I'm playing the market from here, my scenarios for how I see the market, what it's going to be doing over the next couple months, and then giving you guys an idea of what we can expect as we look at this correction, comparing it to other corrections, and why this really isn't that unforeseen if we look at prior history. If you're new and just finding this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Always remember to click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos like the one provided for you here. And make sure you guys sign up and join the Discord server or download my free ebook. Links are going to be provided for you in the description for all of those. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Now, the pattern that we're going to be taking a look at today is called an expanded flat correction, and we've been talking about this, comparing it to the SPX, because the stock market did this entire correction back in the 2000 and then the 2008 financial crisis, where we actually made a resistance. This was our all-time high. We made our first correction. We fell to the $30,000 support. We rally back up, and we actually clear our resistance at this all-time high, right? If we draw a line, we can see that we actually cleared above this. So all of the stops, all of the liquidations are taken out as we clear this resistance. All of the people that were shorting had their stop losses set at the all-time high or shortly above. This came up, liquidated people or stopped them out before proceeding to then fall all the way back down below support. So it's an ultimate trap, right? It's meant to trap out not only the late buyers, but as well as the sellers. All of the people that were panic selling throughout here, when the market started to take off, they thought that they were going to be missing out. They thought, oh my gosh, I panic sold. Now I need to jump in because we're breaking out. And they would have FOMO bought right at the all-time high before they got trapped on a massive swing to the downside. Because now the people that were buying up through here got trapped, and then we ended up coming all the way back down to clear through support. And so this was a really choppy period. And the reason why I believe that this correction is over is because we've already got our 5 impulse waves down. Now, the way that every expanded flat correction works, I'm going to go through and actually draw the Elliott waves. You go through a very corrective phase of ABC corrections. So then there's the first ABC. You get an ABC down, followed by an ABC up. This is our move to the all-time highs where we clear our upper resistance of the all-time highs. And then we get another 5 impulse waves, right? So wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that was our wave 5. This massive sell-off that took us below our support. We bottomed at 25,000 and a half approximately. That, in my opinion, was our wave 5 capitulation. And that should be the completion of this expanded flat, right? All we needed was our 2 ABC, our 1 ABC down, our 1 ABC up, and then 5 impulse waves to the downside. The top of our C leg of the second ABC should clear our all-time highs, which is what happened. And then the bottom of our wave 5 should clear the support of wave C of our first one. And that's exactly what happened here. And so I personally believe that our correction is over. Now, that's kind of a loosely said term because we're still going to go through a lot of consolidation before we're truly breaking out. But I don't think that we're going to be breaking below this low here. I think that it is possible we could actually retest this low of the wick here at like 25 and a half approximately. But I don't think that it's going to be us breaking below that, us going to a massive move all the way back down within the prior market structure. In fact, we've never had a bull run that tested the previous all-time highs. So with us already getting so close during this capitulation, I honestly think that this was our capitulation that we needed. I personally just don't think that we're going to be going lower than that point. What I do think will happen is this type of a move here. So let's come through here. And let's zoom in. Let's remove some of our drawing tools, and let's just talk about what I think could actually be playing out inside of our market structure. So I believe our 5 impulse waves are done, right? We got wave 1, this was our wave 3, wave 4, and then most recently, we finished the wave 5. This was the end of our correction, right? our downward correction is over, and that's why we're seeing this bounce to the upside. Now, personally, I think that we are going to get stuffed at resistance. And we have a couple resistance levels to watch. First things first, we have descending resistance. It's my belief that what is most likely going to be playing out inside of this move, we're going to get a bounce back up. We're probably going to rally back up to about 38 to 40,000. My guess is just an average good number, just say 40,000. I think we'll rally upwards of $40,000 as we come close towards our descending resistance. And then from there, I do believe we will actually get rejected from this point. It's possible we could break out, but even if we get a massive move back up past our descending resistance, I'm still kind of believing that we're going to get somewhat of a corrective period like this, right? I'm not saying that we're ever going to go below our low that we put in here at the bottom of our wave 5, but I do believe that we'll go through an extended period of consolidation that will take us towards the end of the year. Because we have a couple different confluential points being the end of the year. Number one, our 4-year cycle bottom is supposed to be taking place at the end of the year. And so even though I just told you guys that I don't think we're going to be breaking below this low here, which was set in, May 10th, it's a little bit different than our true cycles, right? Normally we would be used to an exact low being put in at the end of the year, whereas I think that this consolidation is going to be a little different. I think the low is already going to be in, and most likely we'll just get a lot of sideways up and down consolidation that's going to take us towards our true projected 4-year cycle bottom being at the end of the year 2022. Once that's in play, I think that's when we're probably going to see crypto and the rest of the market start to go up. Keep in mind, guys, that this is probably going to be a very volatile year simply because of the midterm elections. There's always a lot of volatility in the years of the stock market as well as commodities. All markets as a whole generally are very volatile during a midterm election year. And so this is really nothing unseen, and I think that with us still kind of being in all of that volatility, a lot of things kind of still waiting to be determined. Honestly think that this is going to be the type of consolidation that we see. That's kind of the way that I'm going to be playing the market as far as Bitcoin goes. But it really doesn't matter so much. I mean, realistically, if you're following the cycles based off of a couple different perspectives, let's zoom out here and look at a bigger time frame. And let's actually delete these real quick. Let's talk about our long-term big picture Elliott wave count here for Bitcoin. And let's talk about some other thoughts and perspectives to consider here. If you think that we're in a bear market, how long historically have bear markets last? So that we can kind of get an idea of when is this thing actually going to be over. So like I've stated, there's a couple different ways to draw our top of this cycle, right? Technically, our true mania, where we saw the most euphoria, where the most cryptos were going up in unison, where we could say that we saw the most alt season euphoria type of thing, that was actually taking place right here. When Bitcoin went from 10,000 to 65,000, that was technically the most euphoria we saw in the entire cycle. And that was just because we saw mania happening. That was when Elon Musk started pumping Dogecoin. He went on to Saturday Night Live to shill Dogecoin at the very top. Those are the sort of things that we see at a true cycle top. But what's interesting is we sold off. This wasn't anything that we hadn't seen before. We'd oftentimes seen summer sell-offs after a big run up in Bitcoin. We bottomed just like prior cycles, and then we started to rally back up. And this is where obviously I was expecting we'd have the big blow off top, which never happened. Technically, we did make another all-time high, but this wasn't anything a custom of being a blow-off top or anything we were used to seeing inside of a crypto bull run, right? And so if you guys notice here, some altcoins, specific altcoins, Phantom, Terra Luna, Solana, some that were the best performers, they made new all-time highs right here, but a lot of cryptos actually made lower highs and lower lows. And so we didn't really see a true euphoria except for April of 2021, which was well below and short of our true projected 4-year cycle top. So this cycle is a little bit different. You can draw it a couple different perspectives, whether you say that we topped at November the 1st of 2021, that's 100% a viable option, or whether you believe that we topped over here at about April the 1st. Either or, I honestly think that you could draw the same conclusions. But why I think that either or is important, I'm going to get into that. So first things first, guys. Historically, the bear market consolidation or bearish consolidation, any sort of bear market consolidation we've had in the Bitcoin cycles, historically has lasted about a year. And so if we come over here and actually analyze the date, if we go from this cycle top to the bottom, this one was about 153 days. If we go to the one in 2013, This one was about 426 days. The one most recently in 2017 and 2018. This one was 365 days. And depending on where you draw it from this one today, if you draw it from our true top where we saw the most mania, which would be more characteristic of a cycle top, that would mean that we're already at almost 400 days inside of this consolidation. And so based off of a bear market, we're already at that point where historically we would see a reversal. About a year, sometimes a little over a year, that's historically when we would see a reversal point. And I think it's really interesting that if we're looking at kind of this 2013 cycle, we topped over here, and then we got this big corrective phase. And the very bottom of that sell-off, that massive sell-off, that was really where we saw the bottom get stitched in, and it was right around that year time frame, right? This was also the same thing that pretty much took place over here in our most recent sell-off. Right around that year threshold is where we got our final sell-off at the bottom of that bear market. And I think it's really interesting that although we never saw the same blow off top, we are seeing a similar sort of consolidation where, we're getting what looks to be capitulation taking place almost a year after our cycle top. And so even though our cycle top wasn't occurring at our projected 4-year cycle time frames, it's still a really interesting point to note here. Now, there's a few different things that I'm personally considering when it comes to how this cycle is going to be playing out from here. Once again, I honestly think that we're going to be doing something along the lines of this. It'll probably just be really choppy, real slow. Most likely we'll retest the low point of the $25,000 level at least one more time. But I honestly think it's going to be a lot of sideways choppy action, similar to kind of the bottom that we stitched in here in 2015. Where there's really not a whole lot of movement. It's just kind of going back and forth. And I think we could see something similar to that. Most likely, once again, we won't see a true formation of a bottom until closer towards the end of the year. I think that we'll most likely have already bottomed at 25,000, but to actually build a foundation before we start going up again, that's actually going to take some time, right? It took some time back here in our bear market in 2018. It only took 3 months in that period. It took about 280 days back in 2015. And so it's hard to say how long it's going to take. That's not what's important. What's important to understand is we finished the majority of this correction. Historically, if we're looking at time frames, they've never really lasted too much longer than a year. We're already at over a year. And on top of that, we didn't see a true blow off top. And so I don't really think we're going to see the same sort of sell-off on the downside that we've been accustomed to seeing in normal bear markets inside of Bitcoin. This cycle is just a little bit different. Now guys, this is what takes me to really the next point of this video. Now next I'm actually going to be sharing with you guys a pretty cool chart that I think you'll like. And this is actually going to be the adoption curve of an asset class. As it becomes mainstream, as it becomes widely adopted and used, this is the adoption cycle that it'll go off of. And if you guys notice down here, it says about 10 to 15 years. Now, this is actually the average time that an asset takes to become mainstream, to become widely adopted. It's usually about 10 to 15 years. Now, for you guys that don't know, Bitcoin's ledger went live. The first transactions, the first bits of mining that we're processing inside of the Bitcoin ledger, that was all actually taking place right at the very, very beginning of 2009. It was actually January 3rd of 2009 that Bitcoin's ledger went live. So even though this chart only goes back to 2010, technically Bitcoin has been here since 2009. We're already at 13 years that we've been inside of this Bitcoin trend. Bitcoin has been accumulating over the course of 13 years. Now, guys, once again, the average length that an asset takes to become adopted is 10 to 15 years. The reason why I'm sharing this with you guys is I actually think that Bitcoin is a little bit more adopted than people would like to believe, but I still believe, with that being said, we are still at an undervalued point. Now, this is kind of the way that the cycle works of adoption. You have the innovators. This is the very earliest people. These are the Hal Finneys. These are the Max Kaisers, even though I don't like the guy. These are the people that got in, when Bitcoin was $10, the Winklevoss twins, those type of guys, right? Those are the innovators. Then you get the early adopters. In my opinion, the innovators to early adopters was back here from 2009 to pretty much 2013. That was the early adopters. And then you start to get into the early majority. And I think that really, the early majority starts to get in over here, probably most recently inside the 2018 bear market. I'd say that they got in towards the 2017 bull run top, and then they were in throughout this period. And so where I think we're actually at is somewhere in between the later end of the early adopters, and we're actually in between the early majority. I think that that's the point that we're at, and we're getting closer towards our true innovative adoption cycle top for Bitcoin. I don't believe we're there yet, obviously, but we are getting very close, and I think it's hard to deny that. I mean, NFTs are becoming a lot more mainstream. We have many major celebrities that are getting on board with crypto. We have people like Tom Brady that are really investing heavy into building crypto companies. You have people like Kevin O'Leary and Mark Cuban. There's a lot more people that generally used to be more against crypto that are now adopting, investing heavy amounts into crypto companies. And we're already seeing, major banks and major partnerships between different cryptos. This is the point where we've already seen a ton of adoption. I mean, it's kind of hard to deny that. I think we've seen a significant amount of adoption. We have futures, we have a lot of things. I believe that an ETF and maybe a couple different things like that, a couple regulations being passed to really cement crypto in the mainstream, that is where we'll get the true innovative adoption cycle top. But until we get regulation, I don't think we're there yet, and we're still just a little bit below that point. Now, the reason why I think this is important is because we're going to now apply Elliott waves to this. I'm going to share with you guys where I actually think we are in the big picture scale. Now, this was our first cycle. This is where Bitcoin first made its impulse. We had exchanges to trade it and all of that stuff. This was our first cycle. Wave 1, Wave 3, Wave 4, and then Wave 5. This was our very first impulse inside of any bull run. So this would be our Wave 1. Big picture Wave 1, right? 1, 2. Now, we need to figure out how far does Wave 3 grow. Well, in my opinion, Wave 3 looks like this. We got our one wave off of capitulation, and then this was our wave 3. Wave 3 took us from $5 all the way up to $1,160. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom of our wave 4 was actually our bear market cycle low in 2015. And then wave 5 was this entire move in 2017 and 2016, right? So where I think that we are in the big picture, if we come over here, our first cycle was wave 1. So wave 1 goes to there. And then our wave 3 actually goes all the way from $1.69 clear to 20,000. I believe that that was actually our wave 3. Our wave 4 correction was the 2018 bear market. And we're actually currently inside of our big picture wave 5. Now I'm going to come over here. We're going to make this a little bigger so it's easier to see. So this is our wave 3. Wave 5 will be over here. And this is our wave 1, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC, that's our wave 1. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC, that's the top of our wave 3. And now, guys, we're literally inside, in my opinion, the final end of our adoption curve. This was our wave 1. Wave 1 was from 3,000 to 14,000, back down to 3.8. Wave 3 was from 3.8 thousand up to 5,000, back down to 25,000, and now we're getting ready for our wave 5. Now keep in mind that these are just subwaves, so we're going to make them smaller. And this is, in my opinion, what our big picture cycle looks for Bitcoin. Let's go through here and delete this stuff so it's a little easier to see for everybody, so that we can all kind of see where we're at inside of this thing. So remember, guys, we finished our first cycle. That was, in my opinion, the 2011 cycle. So our wave 2. Wave 3 was from $2 all the way to $20,000. That 100x move, in my opinion, that was actually our wave 3. We finished wave 1. This was our massive 3 wave, wave 4. And then this was our wave 5 in 2017. The top of 2017's bull market was the top of our wave 3 impulse. And that's exactly why we went through this correction. And now we're literally in the very end of our Elliott wave cycle. Now, if you guys don't really understand Elliott wave theory, let's look at Elliott wave theory real quick so that you guys can get an idea of where we're at on the bigger picture. So inside of every Elliott wave impulse, you have 3 impulse waves, right? So this is wave 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC. That's wave 1. Wave 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC. Same thing, wave 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC, right? So it's 3 sets of 3 in every single wave, and every wave has 3 impulses. Now, inside of the impulse is odd, and the corrections are even numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now, the reason why this is important is because when we look at our Elliott waves, where we're at is in the adoption curve is literally right here. We're at the bottom of, we're working on our wave 5 impulse. That's literally where we're at, which historically would create our true cycle top of the adoption curve with Bitcoin. Now, what's interesting to me, guys, is if we run all the way to 2024, if we get our cycle top in 2024, 2024 is going to put us at the adoption curve 15-year cycle. So, I mean, I think it's really interesting that historically, this isn't just Bitcoin. This is a historical data point and record of all assets that we've had throughout history. It takes 10 to 15 years on average for an asset to become mainstream and widely adopted. And so if it takes 10 to 15 years, and we've seen Bitcoin going on this massive run for almost that exact same length of time, the Elliott waves are showing us that we're still missing a wave 5 before this cycle's done. But what's interesting to me is even if we get another year and a half of bull run from this point, and it takes us to 2024, that point of 2024 is going to be, right there at that 15-year threshold for wide adoption. If we look around, I mean, realistically, we aren't that far off from mainstream adoption. We have exchanges. We have a lot more regulation that's coming out. A lot of these cryptos are becoming massively adopted in different areas. NFTs are going to be a mainstream adoption point and a major focal point of crypto. And we're already seeing all of these things. I believe we're at that point where we're about to see the true cycle top of Bitcoin. The true mass adoption curve where this thing's finally done going through the bubble mania phases. I believe that we are very close to there. I don't believe that we're there yet. I still think that we're missing our final 5 wave of this entire cycle. Our big picture, to me, looks like we're about done with an Elliott wave cycle. It looks like we're about done with these massive moves coming for Bitcoin. And it would make sense, I mean, once we're getting at the same valuations of gold being around 10 trillion in market cap, that's a pretty massive valuation as a whole. Whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's all of them as a whole, it doesn't really matter. That's a huge valuation. And so I think that Bitcoin being at the value and market cap of gold, I think that that is mainstream adoption. I mean, if Bitcoin hits the same valuation as gold, in my opinion, Bitcoin has far surpassed everything, and it's literally cemented itself as what it always set out to be, a store of value against inflation, right? And if Bitcoin can basically parity the market cap of gold, I don't see how you can deny that it is a true asset that we can look to as a hedge. Yes, it's more correlated with equities and all of that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's because I still believe that we're relatively more undervalued. I don't think Bitcoin's had true adoption because we don't even have regulation in there yet. But I think that once we do start getting true regulation, that's going to be occurring at our true cycle top. That's when we're going to see the late majority and the laggards getting in here. Is once adoption has already happened, once everybody's already jumped in, once the bubble has already peaked, that's when everybody else gets in, is right at the very cycle top. I still think we're not there yet, but this will be our cycle top as our next move. And this is what's really interesting, guys, is if this really is our true cycle top, how high is that cycle top going to go? Well, when we look at Elliott waves to understand, inside of 5-wave impulses, they can be sometimes short or sometimes they can be really big and parabolic. With crypto, generally they've been very big and parabolic. If we look here, this was our wave 5 here in our first cycle. This was our wave 5 here in our second one. This was our wave 5 here in 2017. And we never got one in this cycle, unless this was our wave 5, which I personally don't think it is. I think we're still missing a wave 5 before we're done. And that's what this move is going to be. This will be our wave 5, right? And that'll be the completion of a true, multi-year cycle. That'll be the adoption curve. Most likely the bubble mania phase is over. I'm not saying that Bitcoin can't go into another new cycle, but chances are it's going to be, multi years. We'll peak, and then we'll kind of start chopping around, and it really won't do a whole lot. Multi-years of, I don't know what it's going to do. But I do think that if we do get our true cycle top being at the end of this 10 to 15 years, like it's showing us, it would be a multi-year bear market. I don't know how long, but probably 3 years would be my guess. I mean, if we've been going through these massive periods of 2 years up, 1 year down, 2 years up, 1 year down, we'll probably see the inverse of that, where we see 1 year up in the bull run and followed by 2 years down in the price. It might be a left translated cycle where normally we've been going through the same classic example of 2 years up, 1 year down, 2 years up, 1 year down, 2 years up, 1 year down. where maybe this is the time where we actually get the opposite, where it's 1 year up, 2 years down, because that is something that happens in cycles. And so for me, that makes more sense than us to just continue on in these bubble mania phases, because we're already at that point of adoption. I think we're really close to mainstream adoption, and that's pretty obvious to tell at this point. So I wanted to give you guys this video as a way to kind of summarize some thoughts, let you guys in on where I think we are in this big picture trend. I think we'll go through a lot of consolidation before we start the next cycle. Most likely we won't start the next cycle until the end of this year, which when we do, I'm personally believing that we're only going to see 1 year of bull run followed by a multi-year bear market. So for me, I'm going to be looking to capitalize getting out of all my crypto during this next rise in price, during the next cycle. And I'm going to be getting out. I'm not somebody that's really big on the belief that this next halving is going to be a major catalyst for the bull run. I think that every prior halving was a catalyst to the bull run, but I believe that this is going to be the first halving coming up that is actually a sell the news type of event, where we're going to get this massive run throughout 2023 and 2020. At the end of 2023, the beginning of 2024, I think we start that next bear market. And somewhere right around that halving point, when everybody thinks that the whole thing's going to take off, that's where we actually start another major sell-off and we get a sell the news type of event. If that's the case, if the halving turns out to be a sell the news type of event, in my opinion, that is ultimately a pretty big indication that we've already got mainstream adoption, because the halving was kind of an unknown thing, right? Where we all know as crypto investors that the halving is what's oftentimes driven the price of Bitcoin, because miners have to basically sell their Bitcoin for a higher profit in order to stay profitable. So the price of Bitcoin has to rise. So historically, every time we've ever seen a halving, the price rises substantially. This was our first halving. This was our second halving. This was our third halving, and these aren't 100% exact, but this is almost exactly where the halving occurred. The dates aren't going to be 100% exact, but they're pretty damn close to these exact lines right here. So if you guys notice, halving was here, price exploded. Halving was here, price exploded. Halving was here, price exploded. So every time we have a halving, the price explodes. Now, I honestly think that this could be the next cycle, where the next halving that takes place, what if we go on this massive run here, Bitcoin tops at the end of 2023, we start to sell off here, and all of a sudden the halving rolls around, we make a lower high, everybody thinks it's going to go up again, and then the halving rolls through and we crash. That's what I think is going to happen. This is the cycle where I think that there's too much adoption for us to keep playing the same narrative that the halving is what's going to drive price. I just think that this cycle's different. We didn't see the same blow off top that we were used to seeing. Altcoins, a lot of them topped in the spring and the summer. Not anything close to a 4-year cycle. This entire cycle is a lengthening cycle, and I believe that it's actually the top of a multi-year trend. And when we do get this 5 wave that takes place in the beginning, at the end of 2023, or I should say the beginning of 2023 is when we should see the new cycle start. And I honestly am only expecting 1 year of bull run followed by 2 years of bear market. So that's the way I'm going to be playing the market from here. That's how I think it's going to be playing out. So if you guys found value in this, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these amazing videos. If you guys want to join the Discord server, download my free ebook. Links are going to be provided for you in the description for that. If you guys would also like to sign up for my VIP, follow all the trades that I take, all my analysis, or you guys want to join my trading course, links are provided for you in the description for that as well. Thank you all so much for the support. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.